Hi, this is Tolec for the Andromeda Council. It is the end of February 2019. Welcome to a live, new format of Deep Disclosure and Evolving Reality. This is our 7th edition, and with me are my two guests, M and MsM. How are you guys doing? You look great.
Doing well, thank you.
I understand you've been very busy. A lot of things going on in your world?
Yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of positive things, and we're going to talk a lot about that today, what we've been up to since you guys haven't seen us. I personally have been doing some production work for our upcoming event, the Seven Seals Summit, which we're going to talk about a little later in the show today.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be quite an event. 2 days, 3 days?
3 days this time.
Lots of speakers.
Yes.
Yeah,
we have a whole set of speakers and a lot of different activities going on over those 3 days, so it's very exciting.
Great. Okay, well, we'll get into some of the details of that. So we've got 3 major categories we're going to be talking about today. The first is financial, and I know that you wanted to get into some discussion about the sovereign bank that you're working with. Go ahead and feel free to address that, at least to the degree that you can.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot going on, and obviously when I'm not on the phone, I'm working on my videos, which is something that we'll talk about later. But we definitely have forged new relationships with some pretty high-level players, sovereign banks, more than one, and we're excited because that protects the money. We've always talked about the problem of moving money through the Fed system, which is something that we're anticipating having go away. But until then, we need to have a secure environment.
That's right. And you just used the word secure. You said something to me recently about having secured some capital, at least a means to get access to a capital.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've obviously there's a variety of things that we work with: bank instruments, cash, gold, and so those things are being positioned in a variety of ways into the sovereign bank as well as into trading platforms. So, like a bank instrument that we're working with, we've secured and we're putting it into a trade. So that'll yield an ongoing stream of funds.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Next on the list is the Mana World Trust. We haven't talked about that in a while, so why don't you...
Well, we have never really talked about it, but it gets brought up. People ask, are you involved with that? And the answer, quite simply, is no. We've attempted to be aligned in the past with that, but it wasn't something that we felt, was the kind of integrity that we want to represent.
Gotcha.
Yeah, there's the individual that is running that is just kind of a volatile person and really difficult to work with, and she doesn't like to play well with others, and so that's an issue with it as well, because what happens, and I know a lot of people are talking about money moving out from that trust, and we've had difficulties in the past, and this is what we've struggled with, is finding a secure way to move funds. And so it's taken a rather large collaboration and a lot of moving parts in order to do it, because every time we move money, we risk getting it taken by the opposition and actually funding our opposition. So it's a very delicate situation to do, and if you're not willing to work with others and make it happen, then you're not really going to find success. And there are some other tactics that she employs that we're just not comfortable with as far as working. It's just not, it's something we're not morally comfortable with.
Yeah, and of course, in order to do this in a manner that achieves your goals with the highest intent, I would imagine you need to align yourselves with very positive parties. And in that process, you also need to make sure that there's no tampering going on from outside nefarious sources.
Yeah.
As we know that the system is set up so it's self-serving, and unfortunately, whenever the system detects that you guys have been trying to move money, they step in.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but we're always open to collaboration, and we believe that we're all stronger together. We're not attempting to do this on our own, and So if people want to vibrate at the right frequency and join in the manifesting vortex with us, and throw their hat in the ring, we're always open to it. And we've attempted several times to do that with this particular crew of people, just unsuccessfully.
Okay. And so I understand this correctly. The Man of World Trust is not part of your operations.
Not at all.
Focus at all. Okay, great. All right. This name always brings up some curiosity and eyebrows, and he's been active for quite a while. Benjamin Fulford. Why don't you provide some commentary on what he's doing these days?
Before we remark on that, he had been pretty accurate in the past, reporting on the things that I was doing with the new banking system for the last, over a decade.
Okay.
And we always considered that he was about 80% accurate with his sources. But it's almost as if he, has been, bought out or something. Because even his most recent report, he had negative things to say about Trump. And the one right before that, we were shocked that he released some very confidential documents of one of our partners, and released his name and released, a picture of him and his passport number, and that was very
not good.
Concerning for a variety of reasons, and there are things being done to address that. But stuff like that interferes with current operations that are going on that are, classified.
Right, I was just saying things that aren't on the table for discussion.
Yeah.
Right.
We're very careful not to talk about current operations because we don't want to throw a wrench in the works.
Right.
And there are a lot of people that are stepping up and putting their lives on the line, frankly, to help us, and we don't want to endanger them. And so that's one of the reasons why we take breaks periodically from sharing stuff or doing these episodes, because we don't want to impede our progress and risk people's lives for the sake of curiosity. That it's not really necessary for people to know the intimate details of how money is moving around the planet. It's nice to know, and we hope in the future that we can have complete transparency. That's, I think, what we're moving towards. But until we eliminate the opposition that we're working to dismantle, we have to employ some different tactics to succeed. And so that's, again, why when we say that we can't say something, it's not because we don't want to share or open up to everybody or include everybody. It's just that it puts people at risk, and it puts the operation at risk. And we're just disappointed that he felt he needed to do that.
Well, he might have been pressured to do that. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, the long arm reach and the long fingers of people involved with the Fed, the different three-letter agencies, BIS, Bank of International Settlements, all the clearinghouses. If they get wind of something that should be confidential and private, they're going to try and stop it, just like they've done a few times with you guys already.
Yeah. So. That's how we know money gets taken by the opposition. We've had it happen to us.
Yeah.
And so we don't take it lightly.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So still on the topic of money, cryptocurrency, crypto wallets, anything that you'd like to share on that topic?
Well, that's something that's near and dear to our heart. We have more people joining the team, some pretty high-level ones that we're not going to mention names, but we have more advanced technologies that are coming to bear. And are we going to mention what the name of our company is? Our new cryptocurrency that we're going to be doing that will be backed by gold soon, if not today.
Okay.
We'll announce it later.
Yeah.
We have, just to be fully transparent, we have a lot of work to do before we can launch the coin. We're not going to do, we've decided against a pre-ICO fundraising period because we actually have the assets and the liquidity to launch the coin. But we have a lot of work to do to get to where we're ready to do that, because we just, we want to use this as a platform for dispersing funds for humanitarian projects. We want this to be an actual solution for doing like global transactions. So there's not currently one on the market that can handle the, what would you call it?
Transaction volumes required for global scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we have that within our circle, and so this it's going to be a really big game changer for the crypto market and for the currency market in general. We're really excited about it. We want to let people know that we're working on it, but we don't want to go out too soon because it is going to take us a little bit of time to get it ready to go.
And so the key differentiation, if I hear it correctly, is it will be backed by gold and probably some other hard assets, I would imagine. And then also a huge pipeline, large transactional volume capacity.
Yeah.
We're talking billions, trillions. Wow.
8 trillion. So it's like
That's-
1.3 T transaction volume per second.
Per second.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Star Trek at Schlight speed.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you want to give some perspective on what a current transaction volume looks like?
Yeah. So Bitcoin is 3 transactions per second.
Okay. 3.
3.
And Bitcoin's been around the longest.
Yeah, and it's at the top of the chart, and we're the most presently. And then number 2 on there is Ethereum, and that is about 27 transactions per second. And then next on the list is Ripple in terms of speed. And Ripple is about 50,000 transactions per second. And there's another one that maybe 37 or 40s, I haven't looked recently, on the list that's 100,000 per second. And we considered maybe doing something with them before this other opportunity came along.
Gotcha.
And so we're really, really excited that continuously through this show we have advanced technologies that show up through the network of divine orchestration. We've got new solutions that are provided. It's quite amazing, and we're thrilled, really.
Yeah.
Because the future is so bright in terms of advanced solutions in quantum computing, AI,
Energy.
our broadband, energy, better Wi-Fi. Everybody is concerned about 5G. We've got technology that's beyond that. We haven't quite identified, what we want to call it, 9G or something new entirely, but it's really advanced.
Well, I heard you mention something, and it's probably worth bringing up and addressing directly rather than having a hangout there. In the list of things that you gave, you mentioned AI. How is your use or the technology, the AI technology that you're talking about, would be different than anything else that anybody else is doing?
Well, there are very few things that I can actually say about it, but it's rather advanced. You've heard us talk about AI that's down in Antarctica. You've heard us discuss other AI that the Alliance is doing. So it'll be something that we'll be disclosing more on as we move forward. But, some of the banking system already has a level of AI in it to protect the unauthorized movement of funds. Because a lot of these funds, they come from a place or an origin where there are those that are not entirely human that are overseeing them. And so you can imagine that there's more than one way to watch what's happening with their asset.
Then I would imagine your particular use of AI is going to have some monster firewalls or monster encryption, ways to protect your transactions.
And a kill switch.
Oh, well, that's good. Oh, good. Okay.
It's really important that the people, the level of consciousness that's involved is, heart-centered, and so, we've expressed that we need to make sure that it has oversight that has the best interest of humanity at heart.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah, and I think that it's just important to also reiterate that there's no reason to fear technology or currency. It's simply, currency is simply a means for conducting commerce, and technology is just something that improves the quality of our lives. And so it's not necessarily the tool that's bad; it's the person who's wielding it, what they choose to do with it. But it's something that can enhance all of our lives, and so it's not necessarily a bad thing. And so, but we do understand that there have been some, AI issues in the multiverse and
Certainly.
and on this planet. So it's not like we take it lightly, but we also know that there's a lot of positive things that can come from having technologies like this.
Well, as you said, as long as there's a really conscious, heart-centered person or persons with oversight responsibilities, then, and you have a kill switch, that makes all the difference in the world. So you control it. It's not going to run on its own.
So something else comes to mind too, sure, and that is I heard recently that about a month ago, if you have funds that's in USD that's older than 7 years, that is outside of the country, in essence, it doesn't have any value and needs to go through a redemption process now. It has to be allocated to gold. We've known this is coming, where there's going to be a shift from the fiat to the gold, and so gold-backed assets are necessary to bring value to these. And I don't know if it's $10 or anything over 10 million. I am still trying to get more information, but this was told to me by one of my sources. And I think that it really actually is a good thing too, because if we have child trafficking or drugs and the like, it's much like if we have a new currency and we have all these people that have hoarded it from illegal transactions, it has to be like.
So it's a process of qualification to qualify the source of the money.
Yeah.
So the history of funds in this redemption process will have to be revealed, and then it'll get this proper allocation and have value again. So I found that really interesting, that's something that happened like just about a month ago.
Yeah.
Great.
It is really interesting. And there's one other thing that I think I want to talk about as far as the financial stuff, because of course everybody wants to know what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my project if I'm doing one, or for the future of the planet? And so we are still moving forward with our project funding. I want to again reiterate and stress that all of the financials that we're bringing through are for humanitarian project funding. And so if you want to participate, you need to have a project. And so we've asked people to sign up for our database and submit a small, a brief profile, just kind of indicating what it is they intend to do. We are currently finishing up a second site with a longer questionnaire and some support materials for those of you that are new to project proposals or business plans, to help you make sure that you have all the tools that you need to get one submitted. And we are starting to identify projects outside of our own, which will go first, that are ready to be funded and will have a great global impact. And we're excited about some of the things you guys have done. I am blown away by what you've created. It's amazing. It's mind-blowing technology. It's brilliant structuring of the company and the financials, and we're really, really excited for what these things can do for the planet.
Okay, so at least currently, if people would like to submit their profile and their project today, they go to the Deep Disclosure website?
Well, they can find it linked off of there or go to globalnet.cloud. I think it also is important to mention that if you don't have a project, you should put your skill set in, because once this all fires up, and let's say we're missing an electrician, we'll search the database and we'll come to you and say, we have a project going up that requires these skill sets.
Right.
And
Smart.
so you can be involved whether you have a project or not.
Yeah. Not having a project doesn't mean you're excluded. There's plenty of ways to get involved and to be a part of the team here.
Great. So I am here with my guests, M and MsM. We are diving into the second part of this conversation, having to do with topics that the Galactics have found very, very interesting, including this cold, wet, end of winter snow that we've been having here in Sedona. I understand there was some insight that they gave to you and to some people you were working with, so why don't you dive into that?
A small group of us got together, including my buddy here, and we did some group remote viewing to look at some of the stuff coming up for 2019. And one of the things that they mentioned was that there was going to be a cold snap, and it was going to be a really cold winter, and then it would be followed by a wet spring. And so the reason I want to talk about this is because that has happened. We have had a very cold winter.
Yes.
In fact, we received 18 inches of snow here in Sedona just last week, which is very rare. It's actually a 100-year record.
Yeah.
We've had record-breaking low temperatures throughout the Midwest. And so true to spirit, as they usually deliver us great information, this is actually happening. So the reason I want to mention this again is because the wet spring that they mentioned, they said that it might cause some more flooding and some mudslides with the wet spring. And on top of that, I had a few dreams, just a few nights in a row, where I was in Northern California, and I was trying to leave the state to head back here. And I kept getting turned around because it was shut off, like the center of the state. So
highway was closed.
It was closed because of some sort of catastrophe or accident or something. And so I just want to maybe put that out there. There may be something in the central coast of California this spring where we have some difficult weather. So just prepare people for that.
Okay. On a completely different tangent. There's been some discussion regarding Senator Kamala Harris out of California, and things are not quite what they seem, so I'll let you enlighten me regarding that.
So as all the new Democratic hopefuls throw their hat into the ring for the 2020 election, we start to get information about them from the Galactic so that we can be prepared. And so shortly after Kamala Harris announced her bid for presidency in 2020, they mentioned in a channeling that she would be involved in some sort of scandal and that this would not be a successful run for her. And that is looking like it's starting to happen. Now, I don't know, I'm sure many of you are following the Jussie Smollett fake the hate crime hoax that occurred.
Okay.
And there have been some indications that she is involved in the orchestration of this or knew about it prior to it happening. And so that's definitely a scandal. And
be careful what you sow.
As more evidence surfaces, we might see her entangled a little bit more into this scandal. And then, of course, she's pushing for reparations. She wants the United States to pay reparations for slavery, which is a very controversial thing. And I found it very interesting that her father came forward and announced that they were descendants of slave owners. So I wonder how that's going to go for her.
Dicey. It's going to be a dicey situation.
Yeah, it's already a pretty interesting election cycle. I mean, we still haven't ended the uproar from the last election cycle. Right. So yeah, it should make for a pretty good show.
Always entertaining. Okay, completely different topic. Putin and uranium. Interesting two topics to blend together. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, this again came from that remote viewing circle that we did, and it was indicated to me that there would be some new revelations around the Uranium One deal that is centered around the Clinton camp, and it's a huge controversy there. They indicated that Putin would come forward and give evidence or give up information about the Russian side of that situation, and it has been confirmed that happened. He did supply some evidence in some insight into the Uranium One deal, and there's more stuff coming out about that and from other sources, and there's a lot of people also following that. So.
Yeah, I'm sure that somebody's exerting some kind of leverage to make that information come out. Because I'm sure the Clintons would not want that kind of
well,
bad press.
It's funny. A lot of this stuff they did right out in the open because they just never thought that they would be prosecuted or caught for doing it, and so or have to face justice for the things that they were doing. So they didn't do a really good job of hiding it. They've been really sloppy.
Did they do this through allegedly through the Clinton Foundation? Okay.
There were some. Well, I mean, there was a Canadian company apparently involved where they tried to cover up the source of the uranium, but they made a deal to give a large portion of our uranium reserves to Russia. And so, when they're for 2 years screaming about Russian collusion on the other side of the table or the other side of the aisle, it's pretty funny that they're actually the ones that colluded with Russia. And now, Russia, again, I will reiterate that Putin is an ally to our movement, and that the United States has had a private positive relationship with Russia for quite some time.
A long time, many years.
Yeah, and I can kind of hint at there's a lot of positive things going on behind the scenes. We saw the Helsinki meeting, that summit with Putin and Trump, and they talked about peace, and they've been working behind the scenes to implement more peaceful alliance and trade, and so we have gotten various reports that is definitely unfolding, and we'll be able to say more about that as we go forward. And we're going to be doing more of this in a variety of ways, coming out with what we can in a little more timely manner, and whether we're doing one of these monthly or as you've seen us reaching out into other formats. We want to keep you abreast as timely as possible.
Okay. The FBI and a cleanup.
Okay. So this was probably mid last year when during a channeling that the Galactics told us that the FBI would be the last agency to turn from dark to light, and to pay attention for when this happened, because it was an indicator that we were almost done. And so we are getting reports of that happening now. There have been 14 agency heads that or high-ups within the FBI that have recently resigned.
Or are going to
resign. And there's been some information, pretty damning information, coming out of the FBI about cover-ups and crimes of the opposition that were not prosecuted.
Things coming to light that had never been revealed before.
So it's a cherry on top of all the other stuff that they've uncovered in the last few years during their investigations that led to all the indictments that we're seeing right now.
Well, we did get confirmation from one of our sources that the letters that were passed out at Bush's funeral were indeed indictments.
And I take it by talking about the FBI now, other agencies like NSA, CIA have already been. There's already been some cleaning house.
They tipped the scales from dark to light already. But I mean, of course, there's still people integrated in there. It doesn't mean that they're all cleaned out, but it doesn't. They are.
But the majority of the cleanup is done on the other agencies.
Yeah, it's going to take us some time to clean up all the mess that these people have made. It could take us a decade to undo all of the things that they've done. That doesn't mean that things aren't going to start getting better for all of us right now. It just means that the level of corruption that we're seeing is, again, I've said this before, it's like all the way down to the post office level that they've kind of weaved their web of corruption.
And it's been going on at this level probably since post-World War II. As Eisenhower and Kennedy both talked about the military-industrial complex. Here it is, folks. The modern words are deep state, but that's a long history of corruption in many of the agencies.
Yeah.
Including individuals that have taken actions and power into their own hands that have nothing to do with the directives of each agency.
Yeah, and I want to also just, again, when we're talking about the agencies, kind of reiterate that there are a lot of patriots working in the agencies
that
are doing a tremendous amount of work to help uninstall the deep state. They're the ones putting themselves right on the chopping block, or they're really putting themselves in the line of fire to do this stuff, and we really appreciate everything that they're doing to assist in cleaning up the deep state, in protecting our operations. There are some really good men and women that have, just been trying to support their country and do their jobs, and they really are patriots, and they really are dedicated to our cause.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's never the case where a whole organization is bad. There's always good people just doing their jobs, and then things come to light, and then they go, okay, time to step up to the table and help. In a completely different vein, the Galactic's talking about their own ships. I have some insight into this, but go ahead. I mean, there are a number of races that are watching what's going on.
Yeah, we can collaborative.
Sure.
I'm sure you're getting a lot of this similar stuff coming through on your end. But yeah, they just recently, a few days ago, when we were channeling, maybe it was yesterday, they said there are even more ships showing up now. Is
that why they were in my room the other night?
We've had a lot of activity.
Lots of
oh my god,
yeah.
It's been crazy. Tons of activity lately.
Not sleeping much, you guys, huh?
No, oh my gosh, it's been. I think I'm doing well for the lack of sleep, but yeah, they said yesterday that these ships are standing by, and now of course they're helping shield the solar waves that are hitting us. That's one of the things that they're doing there.
There's a lot of deflection going on.
Yeah. Right. Another reason that they've indicated that they're standing by is in case they need to do any kind of rescue or picking people up. So because of what's going on with the sun and with the
well said.
With the opposition. So they're standing by if they need to do extractions just to protect us. Yeah. So we're grateful. Thank you.
I understand that there are. So we have 12 Andromeda Council biospheres that are in and around this solar system. From my understanding, 9 of them are sort of creating this energetic fence and bubble around the outside of the solar system, and then the other 3 are in and around Earth space. Having said that, I've been told a few times that there are at least 500 plus races, both organic, physical, as well as higher dimensional, that are all observing and tracking what's going on down here.
Yeah.
This is sort of like the corner of the galaxy to be in right now in terms of change. So
yeah, we're not in this alone. A lot of people are wondering why they aren't doing more, or why we aren't getting assistance, but we are. They're doing a lot to help us. They've diffused nuclear arsenals. They've stopped
taking out missiles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the missile that was headed for Trump, they took out of the sky. So there's been a lot of help on that end. Yeah.
You mentioned the sun about 2 minutes ago in Sun Signal. This is an interesting topic because there's a lot going on with the sun right now.
They started talking about the sun to me a couple of years ago. They had mentioned 3 days of darkness. They mentioned an event that was coming that would kind of change everything, and they're indicating now that it's happening. It's speeding up. The waves that are breaking off the sun right now, or the coronal mass ejections that are coming off the sun, are intensifying. They're having a hard time holding a lot of them back. They indicated to me in, I believe it was November, that we were going to have a major solar event within the next 6 months. Our feeling is something around May. They also indicated that there would be 2 massive waves that hit before this one. And the way that they've explained it to me is that our sun's dying and it's being reborn. And so it's going from a reddish, yellowish hue to a white,
blue-white. That's correct.
Yeah.
The process is happening. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that whenever people have reported or captured imagery of a sphere with what looks like an umbilical cord to the sun, there's a certain variation of either a combination of hydrogen and helium, or helium that's being injected into it by one of the engineering biospheres. to stabilize the sun during its own transformative process. So yeah, there's a lot going on. And the sun's activity definitely affects the magnetosphere of this planet. Our poles are shifting at an unprecedented rate. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 10 or 15 years as those continue to move.
They indicated to me that they were regridding our planet to stabilize it so that we didn't get a pole shift that wiped out 90% of our population. So they're attempting to do that, and there are actually a lot of people here on the planet. So I do a lot of readings for people, as you know, and
right, yes.
And one of the things that we cover is like, what is your purpose here? What are you doing here? What's your mission? And one of them that comes up very often is we have a lot of grid workers here that are simply moving energy and helping anchor in the new grid. And that's what they came down here to do. It's what they specialize in from wherever it is they're from. And they're helping do this for the planet so that we can avoid a catastrophe. And so I'm grateful for that too. Thank you for your help, grid workers.
Indeed, yeah.
Go ahead.
Before we talk about the next bullet point, let's talk again, just because this stuff is really intense, right?
Okay.
I haven't been sleeping for the last couple of weeks here, getting a lot of heat in my body. I'm having like hot flashes all day long. Which I know other people are experiencing as well.
Yeah, you're not alone. That's right.
And if you can't tell, I'm not old enough to have hot flashes. So I'm not going through the change. And it's important to note when these things are going on, because there's a lot of emotional stuff that happens because of this energy.
Yeah, right.
And so it brings up a lot of stuff, and the smaller ones that are coming in are actually helping us prep for the big one, because it's intense, you know. Right. And we've felt it. They can make you a little edgy, and they kind of amplify whatever it is that's going on inside of you. So again, for like the probably millionth time for you guys, the Galactics are indicating that it's very important for us to get our spiritual houses, our emotional houses in order, that we deal with as much of our emotional stuff as we possibly can, because when the big one comes, when this final, wave hits, it kind of forces you into like a midlife life review, by basically removing the veils of illusion that we've lived with here. So it can be pretty intense, and we should be as prepared as possible to handle it.
Right, of course, and the more clearing that people do, the more they address their issues and energetically transmute them, the more balanced they'll be on a moment-by-moment basis.
Exactly, and they'll get more. And another aspect of what's happening with these waves is that we're actually integrating more of our higher selves in with us. And so people are, their abilities are expanding, their connections are expanding.
Very important.
Every time I have kind of a boost in my frequency and I get new gifts that are presenting,
sure,
I start to have a lot of electrical issues around me. And so that's been happening a lot.
You popping light bulbs again?
Yeah, I'm popping light bulbs again.
Okay.
Shocking people, shocking myself.
Yeah.
And on top of that, a lot of stuff's flying off the shelves. So I was in the store the other day, a couple tomatoes flew at me. And we were hearing things crashing in the house constantly. Lights are coming on that we're not anywhere near.
Right. You don't have to move your nose to do that.
No,
that's good.
I wish I had some more control over it. It seems to be more like a live wire just popping off. But this is also coming up in readings too, is that people are getting more abilities integrated.
And of course, the higher vibrational waves that come in, and the higher the frequencies, the more people are going to get triggered, the more that their gifts are going to get activated. So that makes a lot of sense. All right, so the Galactic Peace Alliance, as it revolves around us, or revolves around them, guys.
It's actually an Earth Peace Alliance. Now, of course, they're very much in support of it. They're the ones that told us about it when it began to form.
Okay.
So there's an alliance growing around the planet, and a lot of major countries have joined this alliance. And we're not going to name which ones all of them are, but I can hint at a couple of them, which is China and Russia and the United States, and a few other unlikely participants have joined in. And I know there's a lot of speculation and a lot of kind of fear-mongering over a World War III scenario. But we've been assured by our sources that this peace alliance is very much real and very much growing. And
the Galactics are saying no more war.
That's right.
So that's being echoed by some of our other sources.
That's right. Yeah, I've heard this.
Not going to happen.
I've heard this topic a number of times. They've essentially said they are not going to allow any major global nuclear conflict. It's not going to happen because the repercussions across the galaxy in this vibration and others are too big. They're too massive. So not going to happen. And any talk of a third world war is just to keep people watching the news in a fear mindset.
Exactly.
That's all that's about.
Yeah.
So
our fear is their fuel.
That's right.
And so the more we can rise above those things, the less we are, kind of contributing to our own enslavement.
That's
and
right.
the more we are manifesting a positive reality for all of us.
So don't give the mainstream media's information or fear-mongering any value.
Nope.
Hi, thanks for staying with us. We're in the final and third segment of today's live show on Deep Disclosure, Evolving Reality with M and MsM. So this topic, this global topic is titled Spiritual. And you wanted to talk about meditations. Why don't you shed some light on this topic for us?
We've been doing the 22nd of the month meditation for, maybe 8 months now, I think.
Okay.
And we want to thank everybody that has joined us, because what we're doing is amping up the crystalline grid around the planet and infusing it with our intention for manifesting. I mean, that's what Deep Disclosure has been all about, is let's align with the things that we know that are positive and true. And when we align and amplify that belief, that vortex, we attract that. And
absolutely,
we bring it into manifested reality sooner. And so as part of that, we've been working with the seventh seal that many of you have come to understand as a activation tool. And when you meditate with it, sleep with it, hold it up to your chakra, heart, over your head, whatever, it is clearing, opening, and activating. And so we're kind of setting a field around the planet that carries the frequency of this. And many people from around the country and around the planet have been tuning in on the 22nd. So we thank you, and that is expanding. I think we're up to some 400 people now.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And you can find out about that at our website. But basically, we are also going to do a live stream of the next one, March 22nd. We will be bringing the vibe to you in a new format through the airwaves.
Yeah, we've done a few live streams before, but not on our 22nd.
Yeah, no, not in that.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
It'll be fun, yeah. People have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Migrate on to the St. Germain codes.
Okay, so I have released a great deal of content over, my books when I wrote those 20 years ago, 800 pages about numerology, sacred geometry. Then I spent a decade doing PowerPoints, as I've discussed and mentioned before, over 3,000 slides. And so I began for the last 7-some years putting those into video, YouTube format. I have 33 out there to date. And what I decided to do on my next series which is the St. Germain Code series, where I'm revealing things that I've discovered and remembered. I'm doing that through Patreon as a subscription base. So, if somebody was writing a book, that would be going out there. But I don't have time to write a book right now, so I'm doing this as an alternative. For those of you that really are tracking that and want to know more about where this is all going, please check out patreon.com/Methuselah. And there I am really excited about how inside of our English language has been hidden a code and a message and a means for showing us a path to ascending our consciousness. And many people have been interested in or tracking sacred geometry, frequency, 432, all this kind of stuff. And so there's a great deal more that is being revealed through how these things were understood. And quite frankly, I'm a little blown away too, because I know where the end of the road is, and I just wish I could tell you all about it right now, but there needs to be a foundation that's laid to make sense of it all. And so I look forward to sharing that in that format with all of you.
I take it might have something to do with the evolution of our species, by chance?
Well, in a way it does, because the more you expose yourself to these numerological values and sequences and the like many people have witnessed, oh my God, look at the clock, it's 11:11, or wake up in the middle of the night and it's 3:33 and it keeps happening. Sure. And so this is the universe communicating with you. And if you only had 2 sets of numbers, 11:11, let's call it black and white. There's not a extensive palette of colors for a communication to occur. Okay. And so when you expose yourself to more of the numbers, and you can imagine, so there's a tree, and at the trunk there are series of numbers that are all adding up to 9. Okay, and those are more divine and more profound. And as you come out from the branches towards the leaves and the fruit, you might have 11, 111, 222. And so there's, like, in this tree that I've actually put together is a way to describe this, 27 numbers that are showing up. So if you knew what all those numbers were, driving along, you would see more opportunities on license plates, on billboards, on whatever, a bus going by, a truck going by, and in their serial number there would be a bigger palette. So while you're having an epiphany or you're whatever, there's unique ways that Spirit is communicating with us to encourage us to stay the path, wake up more, pay attention more.
Right, it's about paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm thrilled about it, because that is what has guided me, more than anything. But my number way back when was 1122. And so, as we know, that's the Golden Gate. And, it's also kind of a message. 11 plus 22 equals 33, and 33 is divine consciousness. So it's like the mind and the heart. 11 being like the master teacher of healing, rather, and then you've got a master teacher of the mind, which is the the master architect. And so when you put those two together, the mind and heart become one, then you have a divine consciousness, and that's what 33 represents. So that's that in a nutshell. My lifelong work that I'm so passionate about. So I want to thank everybody for the interest and the encouragement, because it takes a lot. When I put together a video, it took me like 50 hours, and I'm finally getting it down to about 20 hours. But a lot of that was doing the artwork too, and so I've done like 100 plus artwork slides.
That's an enormous amount of work
that I've laid out for this next series, so it's going to be a little easier now.
And just for people that are kind of new to the meta-numerology and the sacred geometry and the stuff that Matthias is putting out there, even if you don't really understand it in the beginning, it's very activating just to expose yourself to it. Just viewing the images, exposing yourself to the shapes and the number series is very activating.
Well, I was just on a thing the other day, and we were talking about the power of drawing some of these shapes, whether it be the flower of life or the seventh seal. You really do have something that occurs while you're immersed in the field, or creating the field and replicating the field. It does have a shift effect that activates you.
That's totally true. And for me, when I kind of was starting down this path, that was one of the things that I felt compelled to do, was to start drawing sacred geometry. And it was very kind of out of the blue for me, but I just needed to get it out there. And in a lot of readings that I've done for people, you know, one of the questions a lot of people have is, how do I, you know, break through to the next level? How do I get more contact, more integrated? And one of the things that they do, and it's not for everybody, you know, it's person by person, but one of the things that they say to do is to explore the sacred geometry and the shapes and to start drawing them.
Well, there you go.
I had an experience recently. Rebecca Hardcastle was speaking up here a couple of weekends ago, and there was a gentleman who attended her session. And interestingly enough, about a week prior, I had had an off-planet experience where I was watching an area and some movement of, we'll call them ships, for lack of a better word. And it was happening at the supposedly shut down Tonopah base in Nevada, which is not shut down. And I was being given this shape of a very, very specific ship. There were some other things that I saw. In any case, 1 week later, I'm at Rebecca Hardcastle's event. There's a gentleman there, as well as a number of other people, and we finish the event. Rebecca and I and the gentleman go out. He gives me his business card. The same shape that I saw is on the business card. So I'm paying attention.
Did we mention that city before in brief talk? Because I was saying that my time travel friend, the cosmic scientist, we used to go there, and he would, you know, go underground to work on stuff. We used to travel a lot together, and
no, we have not talked about this.
Oh,
as a matter of fact,
somebody mentioned this city, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly. You know, so it's more like a white budget project location than a black one.
Well, that's good to know.
By the way,
yeah,
because we went there more than once, and one time I was in a dream where I was in something, experiencing something, helping with something, you know, and it was a way different kind of dream, like more vivid or whatever. And the next morning, I was telling him, you know, I was having this crazy dream, and he's like, yeah, you were in one of their virtual simulation things, and you know, they were preparing you for missions, and you were running missions like simulations. So
it's amazing what you can get when you're in the upper dimensions and see physically. Because I saw, while I was out there doing this work and coming back here, I definitely saw a rail line and a rail head, and then it disappeared, and I knew that it went in the ground. So I got on Google Earth, zoomed in, I'm like, there's the rail line, there's the space, there's the spot. So
cool.
Back to topics here. I think we have a couple left. One is called exposing yourself to sound. You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Sounds fascinating.
Yeah. So one of the things that Spirit is indicating that's helpful for people to do at this point is to expose themselves more to frequencies through sound. And so like sound healing, crystal bowls, didgeridoos, gongs, this kind of stuff.
Sure.
And also singing. You know, singing actually clears your field. It clears your space around you. I do it.
Are we going to bust out into song now? Or?
if you hang out long enough, I can't help myself.
Maybe.
There's
not on this show.
Song in my heart. But yeah, that's another thing, like opening up the throat chakra through singing. And I mean, some days I'm here singing all day long, and it really it eliminates pain from the body. Even the bowls do that when I do sound baths on people. Like you walk away feeling like you just had a massage. So for people who are not as sensitive yet, this is a really great way to kind of get your foot in the door and to start feeling the higher vibrations, because the way that Spirit communicates with us is often very subtle, and so people overlook it, and they think that it's not present in their life. And so this can help you amplify that, to feel it physically, because even, you know, if you haven't been able to feel things yet, like the presence of Spirit around you, you will feel the vibration of these sounds. And so another aspect of this and the sound stuff too is that I've been doing a lot of what I call my divine initiation sessions, or my divine initiation packages, where I'm helping people to activate their own gifts, teaching you how Spirit communicates, the mechanics of moving energy, the subtle channels that they use so that you don't overlook it, and getting people started to receive in the way that I am. And so I'm just sharing tools that I use to get to where I am now and how I'm utilizing these things, and looking into you. We do life auditing with, like, what are you putting in your belly? What are you putting on your body? You know, these things
It all
affect.
matters.
It all matters for your spiritual journey. So, so this is some of the stuff that we cover during these sessions, and I think this is more important now than ever, because as we're moving forward with everything else that we're doing, I'm going to be less and less available to be working one-on-one with people, and I need as many of you activated as possible to do this work, because we still need this. We still need people activating each other and getting everybody online. So, and I'm also really blown away. Well, not me, because I know that people are far more tuned in than they really think. But I think that my clients that have gone through this process with me are kind of blown away by what they're capable of, and just how closely spirit is weaved into their life. And so, so
that's certainly can be part of their waking up process, because people are actually much more, as we would term, psychic than they realize.
yes.
Their spirit-born capabilities just need to be cleared, transmuted, activated, and then bumped. Bumped up.
And it could also be as simple as just having a reading. Like, that's how it started for me. Is I actually had a reading from somebody, and it was the first time that I had been exposed to that frequency, and it activated my own frequency. And so as soon as my body knew, like, we're just these instruments, and we kind of self-tune. And as soon as your body knows what that feels like, how it feels to do that, or to reach that frequency, or to receive that information, it kind of can tune to it on its own. And so so sometimes even just opening that door, like every time you dip into the field, every time it kind of pushes the door open a little wider, and it never goes back down. So
good analogy.
So it's good. And speaking of sound, that is a major element for the summit this year. So
as long as we're here.
Yeah.
So we're about to talk about the topic of the day, which is the Seventh Seal Summit.
Yeah.
This will be your third?
Second annual.
Second annual.
Seventh Seal
Okay.
Summit. Yeah.
As you qualified before, 3 full days, a number of speakers. Yeah. Does this particular year have a particular theme or focus around it?
Well, it's the Seventh Seal Summit, Activating the Divine Within, which is what we focus on. This is a more interactive kind of conference or event. It's not just sitting and listening to lectures. It's
great to hear.
It's about we're bringing out a lot of powerful people that are doing meditations, activations. We're going to do a full sound journey this year with a lot of very powerful musicians bringing through this vibration. It's actually 2 half days and 1 full day. So it'll be the weekend of July 5th through the 7th. So July 5, 6, 7. Beginning that Friday evening with a lot of... there's going to be a shamanic journey and a sound journey and some light language.
I'm going to be revealing some codes, some of the next level stuff, the Saint Germain codes, and of course doing an activation, which is something that is interesting. Talking about coming out, as it were. My past, right, where I was a kind of a pretty high-level computer guy, right? I had a name, that's my legal name that I went by, and I created this other persona to write these books, the spiritual books, so Matthews Imhotep, because I didn't want my professional career to go, whoa, this dude's like weird.
Out there.
However, I guess I can't hide it, because I showed up in New York in 2006, where I got a job to work on the welfare system, and my new boss, the manager, goes, "Oh, I just saw you on the History Channel. They were talking about UFOs, and you were at this UFO conference, in Los Angeles. That's cool. You're into that. My wife's really into that.
You never know.
And I'm like, you know, because I was talking about how I got picked up and this and that. And anyway, so coming out of the closet is what we've all been doing. Some longer than others. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've had an array of gifts that, luckily they're like a bike, you know. When you ride, you can always get back and enjoy the wind in your face without worrying too much about are you going to know how to do it. And so, you know, it's not only practice makes perfect, but it's also kind of fake it till you make it. And I don't mean that in the sense that, you know, you're pretending that, you know, you have some gift as much as you need to imagine it in your mind. And this is how I've learned to do certain things. You know,
visualization.
Yeah, you first intend it, believe it, and then put out, you know, like let's say with remote healing. When I learned that I was a remote healer, I thought, well, maybe it's possible, so I'll just try. Right. And, you know, I had people tell me, oh my God, I felt you. Oh my God, you know, I feel better.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I will keep pursuing that. And, you know, so the understanding that everything is energy and energy is everywhere and every when, you know, so why couldn't it be that, you know, the gifts that we've had in the past are just laying dormant and we simply need to believe that we can, you know, spin our hand in the air and that energy is something that will affect somebody.
Sure.
So, so back to the summit, this is something that we're kind of doing. We're gathering together to activate each other, to activate the globe. We're going to be showcasing some of the stuff that we've been working on. And we have some familiar faces returning to the Seven Seals Summit stage. We have, of course, yourself coming back this year. And, of course, Light Star and Stands with Bear and Sumaya O'Grady will be returning this year as well. Joseph Panthony will be joining us this year on the stage. Amanda Romania. These are two who are in our remote viewing group, very talented individuals. A partner of yours, right? You all work together.
Joe's very talented man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, very tuned in. And then, of course, we have some other new faces. Ava Cowan will be joining us this year. She'll be bringing us the language of light. In fact, she's very interesting.
There you go. Come on out of the closet. You know,
she's very interesting.
Ava Cowan.
So she's a former. I want to say former because she's still very active and very athletic. But she's a professional fitness model and professional bodybuilder. And she was activated a few years ago into the spiritual world and
changed her life.
She brings through some very powerful energy. In fact, she was probably the first person that introduced me to light language.
I mentioned it.
Yeah.
But you were
what is that? I thought it was like talking in tongues. I thought it was crazy. I didn't believe it. But when she started doing it around me, I could feel it. I could feel it very strongly, and also I could understand it. And so it's not just
universal translator.
Yeah. So her and I have done a lot of work together, channeling. So because of the energy that she holds, she's able to open the field up and keep it open for me for sometimes up to 8 hours at a time. Wow. And so where I can continue to receive information. So a lot of the channeling work that I did in the beginning a few years back, her and I did together. And we brought through a lot of really great information. And so, but on her own, it feels really, really good, and it's very activating. So, so she'll be sharing that with us at this event. Who else?
Dave Schmidt.
Dave Schmidt will be joining us this year. Talking about some of his spiritual journey. So a lot of people know him through the currency world, but Dave's actually very involved in spirituality and has had a very interesting spiritual path. And so we're inviting him to the stage to talk about that this year with some of the people that have been following him for so long. Kind of seeing a different aspect of Dave
it'll be interesting to see him not in nuts and bolts world.
And we're entertaining some other maybe keynote speakers, we've been talking to, so that may be a possibility. But what's more important is this event is also meeting soul family,
Yeah.
and finding the groove for what's coming. And we plan to have things rolling out by then, with a lot of things that are showing up right now. And so it's our intent that we will really be anchoring in and tightening down the soul family connections of those who are really guided to be part of this movement, whether you're able to relocate to Sedona or just visit. We've said this all along. We're looking for those that recognize the message and the soul signature and the frequency of what this is all about. And so this is one way to embrace it.
Yeah, and then we also have our beloved Clifford Mahooty joining us this year.
Ah, yes.
So
Clifford's a character.
Yeah, I really adore him.
Yeah, he's a good man. He's got a good heart. He's very intelligent.
Very funny.
Yes,
he's
he
a
is.
funny guy. He's very fun to be around, and we're really excited and honored that he's going to be joining us this year.
That's great.
Of course, all of us know Suzanne Ross, a friend of ours. She's actually going to be co-hosting the event this year because I have a lot on my plate. We're doing a bigger thing, and
smart.
And so we're going to delegate some of the jobs that I took on last year. And so Suzanne will be co-hosting with another friend of ours, a local Sedona person, Carrie Michelle, who's kind of just branching out and bringing her gifts to the world. So this is a great way for you guys to meet her and get to know her a little bit more. And then, of course, we have some amazing musicians that you may have seen me play with before. We have Jade Lyons and Vance Blow and his didgeridoo partner, Gary. I can't say his last name. It's very long.
Okay.
You'll see it on the poster.
All right.
And
Jade's very talented on
the gongs. Yeah, he does gongs and crystal bowls.
Right.
And so
it's going to be busy.
Yeah, it's quite
busy 3 days.
Yeah, and we also have. We're not announcing this yet, but we do. We have because we're waiting for confirmation on our keynote speaker. So we'll be bringing in another keynote speaker this year.
That's what I was saying. It's likely that we will. We've got a couple identified, and we're waiting for feedback.
Yeah, and so we're excited about that, and there's also going to be an opportunity to meet more of the Deep Disclosure team.
Well, that's something we're planning on. Yeah, we hope to have more feedback and input from some of our top partners as we proceed, showing up as a voice. But again, we have to be very cautious and play the timing on that just right. But there's an intent and a desire to have you understand we're real people.
Yeah, so we'd love to see all of you again this year and new faces that weren't able to join us last year. I'm giving you a little bit more notice this time, so
you pretty much filled the room last year. Came pretty close. I mean, it was well attended. So I imagine this year you're going to flood the room. People popping out of the front.
Yeah, we're really excited about this.
Maybe there'll be some other types of beings present.
Usually at these conferences. Usually happens.
We had a lot
Creative
of
Life Center, right?
Creative
Same
Life
as last time.
Center. Yeah.
Okay, good.
We had a lot of weird lighting and sound things going on last year because of all the energy in the room. In fact, the people that were hosting us at the Creative Life Center were like, "What's going on, you guys? You guys messing with the lights?" He said something
like, "Welcome to our world."
Like, no, it's just happening. You can find a link to the event on deepdisclosure.com. And there's also a separate site just for the event called sevensealsummit.com where you can go to purchase your tickets, learn more about what's going on, get a schedule. We also, there are some other things going on aside from the conference where we have a couple other events going on, a VIP dinner and a VIP party for a smaller group of people. We had it's going to be a smaller group at the dinner this year just because we want to keep it a little bit more intimate and make sure that we get
more one-on-one
time with everybody. And so that, and then our party that we have. So it's a mixture. You can come and meet some of the speakers and and us. And I cooked for everybody last year. So
whoever your cook was.
She's amazing.
Between you and the gentleman who had the
My
chef.
sous chef, yeah.
He was amazing.
Taking all the glory with that suit, with that thing, but oh my god, his knife skills saved my butt last year because it was a lot of work, and he was a maniac. So thank you so much, Todd, for helping us, and hopefully we can get you back in our kitchen this year.
Well, this has been a very enjoyable session. So for myself, Tolec of the Andromeda Council and Transformational Shift Events, my honored guests, M and the divine MsM of Deep Disclosure and Evolving Reality, thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.
Many blessings.